Hello everyone. I wanted to make a short video today as most of you who know me in person know that I teach ear training at the University of Southern Mississippi as part of my graduate assistantship. So given the current circumstances, I was doing a little bit of thinking about how I could remotely, because I'm in a different state than than all of my students right now, but still teaching online via Canvas and Zoom. But I was still thinking, how could I motivate or help my students to keep working on their ear training during a pandemic? And to be honest, it's something I've been struggling with too. I often feel defeated because I can't play with the musicians that I normally play with. I miss them dearly. I obviously had to cancel, clear my gig calendar, which brought in, you know, a lot of joy and income. So that really took a toll on me. And I'm sure a lot of people might be feeling that, what's the point of practicing my instrument if I have no gigs, nothing to look forward to? Because we don't really know when this is all going to blow over. We're just kind of waiting it out for now. So the uncertainty of it all, in my case, adds to that anxiety and that depression a lot. But I've started to find creative ways to practice, if that makes sense. So I wanted to talk about how to keep working on your ear during a pandemic. So I came up with a couple of different ideas if just buying a theory textbook and working out of, a workbook is not your cup of tea. I totally get that. So a couple things that you can do whenever you're in the car or if you're at home listening to music and a pop tune comes on, transcribe it. Try to see if you can figure out the chord changes. And the beauty of this is that pop tunes are usually fairly simple. So it's a good place to start. You're not going to find too many crazy chords. Like you're not going to find French augmented sixth chord in a song that comes on the radio. So it's a nice way to kind of ease yourself into it. And if you can transcribe the tune, the beauty of it is a quick Google search would let you check yourself. So it's fast, it's rewarding. It's if you're not confident about your ear training skills, it's a great way to kind of just start getting back into it and being consistent. Then once you transcribe a tune, if it's a pop tune or any tune really, and you listen to it again, you should be able to try and sing the root motion, and that will help get the progression in your ear. Granted, not a lot of pop tunes follow the part writing and progression guidelines. You've got a lot of regressive harmonies and that kind of thing, but still, even if those songs don't follow the rules, transcribing them and being able to sing root motions will still help you as a musician overall. Another thing that I like to do when I'm in the car just for fun or at home is listen to a lot of music at home since we're all stuck at home or on a run, but I can't sing and run at the same time. But one of the things I like to do is to harmonize the melody. So when it comes on the radio or your iPod or whatever you're listening through Spotify, I like to challenge myself to try and sing along with the track at some interval above or below the melody. And, I kind of pretend like in my head I'm a backup singer or something. But fun aside, it forces you to audiate the pitch, anticipate harmonies that are coming up. And it's really harder than you think it would be, at least for me. So another thing that I thought about was that a lot of us are stuck in a place either without our primary instrument or without access to a piano. Some of us have both, some of us have one or the other. So I was thinking, if you don't have a piano or a nice keyboard that you have access to if you just on your primary instrument are practicing etudes of any kind, and they don't have to be jazz or classical necessarily, but if you're working through an etude book, another thing you could do is go ahead and harmonize the etude. Look at the melody and ask yourself, what chords does this imply, where and when? And you can also look at, okay, phrase structure and all that. Where does it make sense to put a cadence? And if you do have access to a piano, I would say play that chord progression. And then again, be able to try and sing the root motions and all of that good stuff. Another thing people can do is to, the dog checking on me. Hey, buddy, I'm busy right now. Another thing you can do is compose your own music. Now, I know Finale Notepad is free, and I haven't spent enough time with it to know all too much about it, but if you compose your own music, maybe something simple, play it on your instrument, your primary instrument, harmonize it, play it in Finale so you can listen to it, sing it, solfege it, but have fun with it, and you can create something that is kind of your own. Another thing that I thought of as an alternative to just working through a theory book is there's a lot of online resources for ear training. So you can find websites that will do interval training, give you random intervals at, random directions, give you random chords to help you identify chord quality. I actually have a bunch of resources compiled in a neat little list. So if any of you guys are interested in that aspect, since we're practicing social distancing, it's not really easy to get with somebody in a piano and say, here, play me some chords or play me some intervals and then go back and forth, unfortunately. So the online resources are a wonderful thing right now. And if you want help finding those, like I said, let me know, drop a comment, send me a message on Facebook, email me, text me. I'm here to help. So another thing that I thought of that you could do is on your primary instrument, we're all constantly practicing scales and chords and building our vocabulary, no matter what style of music you play, because, A, you want to get better at your instrument, and having that muscle memory is really important. And, B, you want to have every key center that you might be required to play at your disposal. So we're all probably practicing scales and modes right now. And one thing that you can do is to practice your scales at different intervals, and it will help you to hear them. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to think of it as, okay, I'm practicing E flat major in thirds and worry about hearing major, minor, whatever. Hearing thirds will help. And then when you go back and you have time to pay more attention, you'll be able to refine that. So it's kind of like giving you the bigger picture sonically, and then you can go back and work with an interval that, messes you up. So a lot of people get perfect fourths and perfect fifths mixed up. Practice your scales in fourths. Practice your scales in fifths. And then just be conscious of, what sounds different. And I promise over time it does get better. And I love to tell my freshmen this story because I remember starting out at Texas State University, and my first ear training class was taught also by my theory professor, who was a brilliant man, but extremely intimidating. And he was from Bulgaria. So there was a huge language barrier, and, he didn't quite pick up on social norms very well. So he came across as having a temper. and a very heavy, I think, Russian accent or some flavor of language that was similar. And I remember being terrified, and I just thought, oh my God, there's no way I will ever learn this. Like, I have no idea how to hear what he wants me to hear. But I promise that if you keep working at it, it will get to a point where it will click. And not everything in the universe will make sense to you sonically, but I guarantee that you'll hit a point where you'll have enough proficiency to where you can say, okay, I can start to refine hearing these kinds of things. And then, eventually you'll be in the supermarket and a 3625 turnaround slaps you in the face and you're like, oh, wow, I hear that. So it does get better if you're struggling, but it does require constant work. So the last thing I thought about that people can do, since we're all stuck at home social distancing, and a medium that I use in my classroom, I hold virtual office hours on Zoom. So if you wanted to take advantage of that software, since at USM, as a student, you have access to Zoom and to Skype Business for free. You could Skype a friend and jam, or do duets together, or trios, or however many people you want to coordinate on a call. And that way you can practice from the safety of your home and, kind of get a little bit of human interaction. And I won't lie, part of why I wanted to start doing videos rather than just a blog or just a podcast for right now was I feel like there's a little bit of human interaction involved, because I feel like I'm talking to somebody, and I know several of my students will probably watch this and several of my friends will probably watch this. So if you're out there, hang in there. And I know the struggle is different for musicians. We can't just, at the drop of a hat, move like a math class would or could in theory to an online format. The bread and butter of our existence is performing together, making sound together. And right now the world is saying you cannot do that. So just know that there are options. We just have to be a little more creative. And if you're struggling to motivate yourself to practice, don't beat yourself up about that. I am literally the worst about that. And it took me just until recently to allow myself the kindness and the patience that I tell all of my students and friends to give themselves for some reason when I am struggling myself. That kind of patience is not with me. But I did get to that point, and I feel a lot better about practicing. And when everything returns to normal, having used this time to continue to exist as a musician. So if you're out there, hang in there. And that's all I had for today. So I will see y'all next time. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye.